There's something about a blue flower, don't you think? Like, actually, blue flowers make up like less than 10% of the flower world. I mean, what is there? There's like delphiniums, borage, larkspur. Can't really think of any other ones right now. Every year, I have to have some blue lobelia for some reason. Okay, so there's over 450 different species of lobelia, so let's get the ducks in a row. This lobelia is Lobelia Earinus, also known as garden lobelia, trailing lobelia, edging lobelia. Those are some of the common names. This is the lobelia that you'll find at garden centers in the springtime. Lots of different colors, pinks, whites, various blues. By the way, this is a different plant. If you're not familiar with lobelia, this is a coleus, so don't mind this guy. Lobelia Earinus is an annual, but there's Lobelia cardinalis, that's a red perennial variety. There's Lobelia inflata, Indian tobacco. That one has definitely killed some people. Strong medicine. Lobelia teleki, I think I'm saying that right. That one grows in like high altitudes in Africa only, and it looks like a 3-meter high cousin it from the Addams family. This lobelia comes from South Africa originally, and it's in the Campanulaceae family, that's the bellflower family, along with platycodons, and that darn creeping bellflower you can't get out of your garden. These lobelia seeds are like dust. They're so lightweight and tiny. Like, you could breathe a little too strongly from a meter away and they'd fly. I tried seeding them for the first time last season because I used to just buy them all the time. They're so cheap. But, you know, practice what I preach. Growing a plant from seed is so much more intimate and educational for a person than buying the seedlings from the store. I failed during the hardening off process. I did manage to germinate them, but more about that later. The seeds take up to 3 weeks to germinate, sometimes longer, and they need light, so don't cover them. They're so tiny anyways. Just kind of sprinkle them over the seed starting mix that's really well draining. Put them near bright light and keep them moist. You could bottom water. I just misted with the spray bottle. And actually, I even covered mine with plastic. Like, I seeded them in a hanging basket container and they didn't rot away. Mine's in a south window though, so keep that in mind. That might have played an important role. Some people recommend using those like starter cell packs. If you have ever bought seedlings at a garden store, they have like 6 or 4 kind of black flexible plastic cell packs. Sometimes it's easier if you're planning to transplant lobelia into another container outside or a garden bed to have them in those cell packs, because the roots are very fine and delicate, and usually when you're transplanting you'll lose them because they're just so stringy and fibrous and close together. So that's one option. The other thing you can do is actually just bring a big container inside 6 weeks before your last frost and seed them directly in the container. You don't have to disturb them that way, and they'll just grow, and then you can harden them off in that container outside. 3 to 4 weeks later, you should start to see many little dicotyledons popping up out of the soil. And for those of you that don't know, that's the very first set of leaves that comes out from the seed embryo. And there's 2 in lobelia. In terms of moving it outside once it really starts to grow, really important to wait until you have consistent night temperatures, at least above 10 degrees Celsius. Colder than that, lobelia will not be happy. So don't rush putting it outside. And the hardening off process, I cannot stress enough, because of my personal failure, it can be finicky and frustrating, but it is worth the patience. I recommend increasing in very small increments. So the first day you put it out for 10 minutes. The second day you put it out for 15, 20, 30, 45, so on, until you're up to like 3 or 4 hours, and watch it. You know, keep your eye on it. Don't just leave it there. What if it's a super windy day and they just can't handle it? What happened to me was I left it out for just a bit too long, and it was a hot day, and possibly the seedlings were still too young, and I was just impatient. And you know, a couple hours later I went to check on them and they were dead. They were toast. Lobelia flowers are pretty wild. They're so small, but if you look closely, and this is characteristic of all of the flowers in the Lobelia species, they have 2 upper lobes and then 3 lower sort of fanning lips. it's very irregular.
You can see here, this lobelia is starting to dry off, and some of these have matured, so look, that one just came right off. That's a good sign. So that's a dried one, and I'll just kind of take some clumps here. Show you. When they're dried, this is what they look like, okay? The flowers are kind of withered, and then you get these pods. And you can literally just take the pod off. You can try and separate it from the chaff, but man, these seeds are so small. I usually just pick like a clump like this, squish it a bit, make sure it's dry, really make sure it's dry, that's important, and then just put it in your envelope and save it that way. And then I just sprinkle the whole clump and crush it up in the springtime in my soil. Most of this is all chaff, and then the seeds are these tiny little browny orange specks that you can kind of see dispersed. I can't even separate them out fully, and quite frankly, I don't care enough to. There's no point in my opinion.
Good luck on your lobelia journey. If you really don't want to grow them from seed, or you realize that it's now a week before your last frost date and you don't have enough time and you're stressing out, just go buy them. You know, in my opinion, seeding is the best, but if you just want to start from seedling stage, you'll be able to find tons in garden centers typically. I literally drove across the city to find this shade of sky blue with my new baby because I was just obsessed with it. I couldn't stop thinking about it.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel if you want to watch more videos like this. They come out every Friday.